Hello, this is Michael. Welcome to week 7. So we're coming down to learn and to finish up the course. So it feels as though we've only got a few weeks left. Let me let you know where we're at. Um, we've got a lecture for week 7 here, and the topic for this week is user flows. Trying to come up with the idea of how does somebody get from one place to the other by clicking and manipulating things. And I realize you guys have already started, many of you, to think about this, but it is intentional that we forestall design until we have really understood and been able to iterate through several concepts around structure. So design is somewhat last on the list in my mind, although it is extremely important because you will have to demonstrate your ideas to others. But I wanted you, uh, in terms of the process, to start thinking about taxonomies, navigation, overall structures that we indicated in HTML. These are sort of the background foundational aspects of the information architecture role. And I don't want you to jump ahead to the next part, which is trying to get users to engage in that information until this week. So we will be thinking entirely about other people, how they'll interact with the information, and we want to show that in, again, a kind of a light and iterative way. So we will be using Mural to do that. So if you want to take a look, some of these things have changed. That we're talking about how to show and illustrate journeys, and there's a couple of different techniques there. There's the discussion for this week will again be in Mural. So let me just point out something about Mural. I just am really enjoying it because they've fixed their email system, and now I'm getting pings of all the different discussions that are happening. And what's I think is nice is we can hold many different discussions at once and share items. And so I think Mural, unless you guys want to tell me differently, is helping quite a bit to make the course feel more interactive and get answers out quicker. I do, however, want to start grading a little bit better. So right now we've got a discussion area where we don't discuss, we just do stuff on Mural. I just want to say if there is some reason, I know people's lives are busy, but we do need to contribute to Mural. Um, I'd say at least once by midweek, and then to discuss things as we move forward. If for any reason that you wait till Sunday to do the work on Mural, my feeling is that that is just kind of thrown in there to fulfill the goal, because I don't have time to read it or respond as do many other people, because it's Monday and we have to start all over. So let's discuss what's due over the next couple weeks. So in week 7 that we're at now, we're going to work on describing user flows. This can be considered how do you illustrate a process at a very high level, and then maybe as we go into next week, a lower level. You may have noticed that at the end of week 7, this Sunday, there would normally be this project 3 due. I've moved it out 1 week, since I noticed when we're working with HTML, we went from HTML to taxonomies, and it seemed to go a little bit quick for people. And I want to make sure that as we're looking at storyboarding, or I'm sorry, at site mapping, that we really get that idea down and understand, like, what do you illustrate in a site map? And thus also with flows, and then the next week for wireframing and those things. I don't want it to go too quickly so that we don't have time to make sure that we understand it, but I do want to move on. So I think there's a little catch up to be done this week. Let's take a look. Well, first of all, let's just say I really enjoyed everyone's commenting and contributing different navigation patterns. I also hope that you were able to take a look at these resources, one of which is patterns for tablets, and tablets for mobile and tablet and desktop design patterns. They're all very different. And as we move forward, we might need to discuss what would be the best tactic. I can see from a lot of the use cases that your preferred user may be mobile. I think for often a lot of these more casual, off the cuff services, mobile is probably the better place to be, but that's up to you. So these are good. I am going to try to organize these a little bit and see if we have any outliers. But if anyone notices one of the topics that wasn't covered, please let me know. So just so I'm clear, let's spend a little more time here in week 6. We don't have to move on immediately. I am interested in knowing, did we miss any of these? I have not done a careful inventory. As to the navigation areas, I would like to review these a little bit more and give some more comments as well. I often think that the information at the top of the page and even this metaphor of page is tricky. So right now, this doesn't necessarily have to represent pages. I'm looking for it to represent overall, what can someone do on this site? And if they have to go from place to place or navigate from one area to the other, how do you describe that? What are the words that you use? So I notice in many of these cases that the wording is a little bit terse. I am actually interested in what you think the real wording should be. What is the name of the link at the top of the page? And this to me indicates a navigation structure. Maybe it's a tab structure. You could also say, if you're doing a one-page site, for example, they still tend to have tab structures. They just do different things, meaning there's always some omnipresent header or language information at the top of the page that helps orient you. So that's what I want you to think about and to figure out for this week. And, I'm interested in you trying out this service because I think it does teach you some things about how onboarding works. We may have looked earlier at the onboarding descriptor, and here's actually onboarding about IFTTT. But IFTTT has a little bit of a meta reasoning as well, which is how do you teach a computer to do things for you, and I think they do a really good job of it. So if you guys are familiar with IFTTT, I'd prefer you to do this on mobile, but you can do it on desktop. It's just basically get started and try to come up with it, let it do something useful for you, and then come back to me and tell you, give a description of what the steps are. How does it do it? So in this case, you can use this particular description. The point is to try to be mindful of how does it orient you as to what to do. And this is, I just think it's a really good example of flow in an application or in a design. And by studying it, I think you can come up with your own flow through your site. So I've got an area over here that I want you to kind of describe the flow of how people get involved in your value proposition. So I've given a pretty big area here. And I've also given a bunch of primitives. Now, there's these things, micro interactions, there's sort of fake little thumbnails. I would like, I mean, these come in handy. They might not be that usable within Mural, but I think the idea of little thumbnails is kind of popular. What I have done, though, is to give you an idea of micro interactions that these are a bunch of micro interactions, and you can copy by hitting the copy key, or you can just say duplicate. Looking for arrows, and then you can use one of these down here, and you can kind of set up a fairly quick flow here, or you could use a drawing program, whichever is easiest. I'm really just trying to get you to understand and illustrate how is somebody going to find and act upon your data. And then next week we will get to illustrating that in somewhat high fidelity. They're called wireframes. I like to call them sketches, so I wouldn't be too concerned about that. I will show, however, the kind of cool ability of the Sketch program to be able to take your actual data and to put it into a mock-up. It's a little bit fancy, you don't have to do it, but it's pretty cool. So hopefully, any questions this week? If you like, I can do a BlueJeans session, or we can just continue to discuss things through Mural. So thank you.